Hi, welcome to Talkin Business. I'm Joe Catrambone, CEO of the Stewart Martin County Chamber of Commerce, and it's my honor today to have Michael Maine, our Martin County Superintendent of Schools, with us today. Michael, welcome.
Thank you.
So
It's a
nice to
pleasure,
have
Joe.
you.
Absolutely.
Of course, we have a little bit of a relationship, you being on our board, but
Yes.
I know a little bit about you, and usually with my guests, I ask what brought you to Martin County. You know, it's such a little tiny speck on this earth, and it's really a well-kept secret. Now, I know why you're here,
Yes.
obviously. Were you recruited, or did you apply? How does that work with the superintendent? Do they do a search? Is that what?
Yeah, well, it's unique in my situation because I came to the Martin County School District 3 years ago to be the executive director of principals and professional standards.
Oh, I didn't know
So,
that.
yes, so I oversaw all of the principals in the district and our professional standards office. When Ginger Featherstone retired as deputy superintendent, Dr. Millay promoted me into that position. And when Dr. Millay decided to become a superintendent, a recovering superintendent, as I call it, the board asked me to step in and take his place.
That, wow, that's really unusual because I know in positions like yours, there's always a search, and it costs a lot of money to do a
Does,
search,
does.
and a lot of time and a lot of effort. So that was very convenient.
Yes.
That was-
The searches for superintendents can cost upwards of $50,000,
I-
and to have an internal candidate that understands the systems and knew the people and could keep the momentum going and some of the initiatives that were already started is always ideal when you can find somebody that understands Florida, understands the district, knows the people. And so for me, it was a much smoother transition to be able to just hit the ground running and continue the great progress that's been
yeah,
made.
yeah. You know, as they say, you know where all the bones are buried.
Yes.
You know, so
Yes,
so it was,
for
it was a very smooth transition.
Yes,
That's great.
yes, yes.
Where did you come from?
Originally from Brevard County, born and raised, moved to Tampa to attend the University of South Florida. Got my first teaching position at Spring Hill Elementary, teaching fifth grade, and just worked up to assessment coordinator, assistant principal. Was a principal for 12 years at a K-8 school, 2 elementary schools, and then started applying for the executive director position in Martin County. I wanted to get back closer, back over the East Coast, to be closer to my parents who still live in Brevard, my sister, my 2 nieces. And I've got 4 beautiful daughters, so the grandparents needed to be a little
Oh
closer
yeah,
to
that's
their
really nice. Yeah.
granddaughters.
Where in Brevard?
Melbourne area, Cocoa Beach.
I spent 25 years in Titusville.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so I'm
yes.
very familiar with Brevard County.
Yeah.
It did you find any a cultural shock when you moved here? Is there anything that you didn't expect or something that surprised you about the community?
I think for me, the district size, I was in the Hernando County School District, about 22,000 students, a little larger than Martin, but similar in size. For me, I think it was the community support. The community is all about the school district and all about supporting schools, and the donor base and people who are willing to come to the aid of the school district to either tutor students, to reach out and help support programs that we're doing was very different than what I was used to in Hernando. The community was great, but the community as a whole in Martin County truly rallies behind the school district, and they want the very best for kids. And so it makes it easier as a superintendent to not have to look to gain the community support, but to already have the community support.
Yeah, and just again another smooth transition.
Absolutely.
The area itself is much smaller than Brevard.
Yes.
So that makes it really there's a hometown feeling there. You know, there's really as you said, a supportive community. We've always been, the Martin County School District, I've been in Martin County since '89, coming from Brevard, and many more schools in Brevard than
Yes.
are obviously in a huge district. There were three
Yes.
superintendents up there.
Yes.
So we have always been ranked, Martin County School System, very high
Yes.
in Florida, and I don't know nationally how we rank, but certainly in the state of Florida, we've always been ranked in the top 2 or 3
Yes.
school districts. A lot of people don't recognize how important that is for economic development. So it's funny, the change, when I got to Martin County in '89, the average age was 61 and change.
Okay.
And today it's 51 and change. So that's a huge swing.
It absolutely is.
So when I first got here, the inquiries that came into the chamber were more about doctors, medicine, medical, you know,
Right.
our age.
Yes. Yes.
Today, the most important thing people ask and check out or tell us they're attracted here is because of our school system.
Absolutely.
So it's a wonderful economic development tool, aside from the fact that it's wonderful for our kids to be in a great system.
Yes.
I don't know what I think I read somewhere is our children who go on to higher education is it an 80%?
Oh yes, but it's almost 90.
Oh, I thought it
Almost
was an 88 or
90%.
something. I
Yes,
remember
yes.
seeing that and I went, wow,
Yes,
that's
yes,
really unusual
yes.
because I can remember years ago it was not here,
Right.
but in Brevard it was in the 70s.
Correct.
You know,
Yes.
so
We have a very high percentage of students that graduate to go on to post-secondary. Many of them are going to Yale, University of Florida, Ivy League schools, Princeton, military. We do have a very strong military base, but we also have a very strong workforce. A lot of our students are graduating with welding certifications. They're graduating with marine industry certifications. They're able to go immediately out into the workforce. The Martin County School District last year was ranked 27th in the state. So our rankings did go down over time as our demographic within Martin County has changed. However, this year we went from 27th to tied for number 9.
Really?
So our
Wow.
rankings have significantly improved. My goal is for the Martin County School District to be the number 1 school district in the state of Florida. To be anything less is not good enough for kids. We need to be number 1, and I am a firm believer, and I tell my staff this all the time, that our school district is the economic driver of development. Businesses
Absolutely.
will move into the community if they know that their employees can send their students to a top ranked school district and that they're going to receive the very best education. So to go from 27th to 9th in just 1 year, we absolutely can go from 9th into the top 3 this year when school rankings come out next year.
Yeah.
They're a year behind.
Well, good luck,
so
and
thank
there's
you.
no doubt in my mind you'll get there. The other thing that was always impressive too is that before Indian River State College became a college, it was a community college, and it was always ranked number 1 in the state.
Yes.
So the educational opportunities, quality educational opportunities, have been here.
Correct.
And remain, obviously. Do you see, what do you foresee in the future for higher education here? Is there opportunities that are going to grow, do you think?
I think so. The IRSC has done a phenomenal job through their Promise program in providing seniors pretty much 2 full free years of college to be able to enter if the students qualify. And we've got hundreds of seniors each year that are applying for that Promise program, being accepted, and getting 2 of their years paid for at IRSC. That will continue to grow. And what we're finding is as it gets harder and harder for students to get into some of these elite colleges, because the qualifications to get in are going up and it's becoming so competitive, many of our students are opting to go to IRSC, getting their 2-year associate's degree, and then automatically being accepted into the University of Florida or the
Yeah.
University of Miami or Florida State or pretty much wherever they want to go. You punch your ticket when you decide to go to a 2-year university first, and it's a lot cheaper. You know, it's the cost of college
my God, yeah.
is through the roof, and IRSC and our local community colleges and state colleges allow a wonderful opportunity for kids to get a great education, decide what they want to do, you know, and then be able to focus on that declaring that major when they go to the university.
One of the things that I was a major issue when I got here, and I don't think it was just in Martin County, was the lack of a trained workforce.
Yes.
Not for those students moving on to a university or a college, but for the trades.
Yes.
And so years ago, Elmira Gainey was our county commissioner, and she was retired, either, I think, a assistant principal. And she was on our board, and we used to talk about it quite a bit. So we had an idea to try and develop a trade school. That's how Clark Advanced Learning Center came about.
Okay.
So, pardon me, I tongue-in-cheek say Clark is a failure, because the kids coming out of Clark now they're moving on to four-year universities, scholarships. They're above the standard. That was not the intent of Clark, and it was going to be, our intent was a trade school. And so Tom Warner was our state representative at the time, and he got us a grant, a $50,000 grant or something like that, to do a study. And so that's how it all came about. Clark came about, it was supposed to be a trade school.
Okay.
So, as I said, it's tongue-in-cheek. I say it's a failure for what its original purpose was. But I was so pleased to see the Indiantown project.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that, the
Yeah.
Indiantown?
So Indiantown High School is a charter school. So while they apply under the governance of the school district as their signing body, we do not govern Indiantown High School. They govern themselves. They have their own board. We have members of our school board that serve on their board. Certainly, they come to our principals meetings. They do try to align their curriculum with ours. But what I think is very unique and what's fantastic about Martin County having Clark Academy and Indiantown High School in our charter schools is that we're providing choice for our parents. I tell a lot of times there's this tug of war between public school and charter school, Joe. And what I try to tell our staff, my principals, is we're not afraid of charter schools or private schools. All of those students are Martin County students. And wherever they go, whatever type of education they get, we want it to be the very best education so that they go on and they serve Martin County proud, Martin County as a whole. And sometimes, just like in the business world, competition drives that competitive competition drives results. And when you have our public schools that are trying to push themselves to rise to the same level and to provide the same level of programming that Indiantown High School or a Clark Academy is providing, it makes us all better. And so don't be afraid of them. Find out what they're doing and either duplicate those programs for our public school students, or in some cases find some programming that maybe they're not offering that we can offer. Because at the end of the day, their scores come back and are included in our overall district score.
Right.
So if we're a B district, their scores are added to that. If we're an A district, their scores are a result of that. And so they're doing great things at Indiantown High School. And I think it's a niche high school that allows for students and parents who want their students to have a smaller feel to thrive in that type of environment versus a traditional high school where there's over 1,000 students, because they're going to cap their enrollment eventually at 400 kids. That's phenomenal for a high school to only be 400 kids. We're graduating, our senior classes alone are 300 to 400 kids depending on the enrollment.
So could a student attending Martin County High School opt to take some courses at Indiantown? Or?
Yes. So traditionally, if you're going to enroll at Indiantown High School, that is going to be your high school.
Okay.
If a student is at Indiantown High School and they want to play sports at our high schools, they can do that, because currently right now Indiantown High School does not offer a football, doesn't have a football team, may not have a baseball team. They may not have a band or a chorus just yet because they're small. But if you're attending Indiantown High School and you want to participate in chorus or band or sports, you can do that at a traditional high school. So they would probably go to South Fork High School, being that it's close in proximity, and they would enroll in the sports program or the extracurricular programs through South Fork High School.
Yeah, I knew that. We had some students at Clark that participated
Yes.
at the other high schools. So if you lived in Palm City and were going to South Fork High School, is there a particular area that any student, if they were in Jensen Beach, they could go still take a course in Indiantown?
Correct.
So there's not
There's
it's
no
not
zone.
segregated in any way.
To go to South Fork High School, you have to live in that zone.
Right.
To go to Martin County High School, you live in that zone. Indiantown High School is unique in the sense that you could live in Hobe Sound.
And
And
go.
as long as your parents can provide transportation to the high school, you can go.
I think that's, right now, how many students are in Indiantown? I know there's a
The
little,
last I checked, Joe, was about 52, 53. They're
imagine-
trying to grow their enrollment.
what kind of training are they getting?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
almost like going to a private school.
Very intense.
Yeah,
Very
that's-
intensive, one-on-one almost.
It'll catch on. I
It
know
will.
it will. And so
Yeah.
many people don't know about it. Was there anything unique or anything different? You've been here 3 years, so, and you were born in Brevard County, so you're aware of and we're familiar with what Florida was about.
Yes.
Is there anything different that you see in Martin County that surprised you or?
I think the dedication of our staff and our employees, they're all in for kids. And I also think what's unique about Martin County is you have a very good core group of parents that are involved. See, that's the key difference. Involved parents allow to help us create a thriving environment for students. When parents are involved, they're asking the right questions, they're working with their students at home, they have a high expectation for their students when they attend school. It helps set the tone for teachers to be able to bring that student that much further. And I think what you see in other larger districts like Brevard or in Hillsborough, Tampa, maybe Orange County and Orlando, is that the districts are so large and they cover such a vast geographic area that you don't always see parents that are as involved, right? Moms and dads might be working 2 or 3 jobs. Students might be getting raised by grandfather or grandmother in foster care. We have that in Martin County, but it's not to the extent of some of our larger districts within the state of Florida. So it gives us the unique opportunity as a smaller district to be more intimately involved with our parents and to be more intimately involved with our families that might need that assistance to help raise and be a partner in the raising of their child.
Is there a homeless population in Martin County I know there is, and that's why I'm leading there. And so many of our residents, they don't think there's a homeless population in Martin County. So is there a percentage of that you know of the homeless, and how do you handle them? How does it go about?
We have many families that are living out of cars. We have many families that are displaced that are living out of hotels. We track that through our free and reduced lunch numbers, which is almost 60% at this point for the entire district, which has grown significantly
Wow.
over the last several years. When you look at areas like Port Salerno, maybe some areas and pockets in the city of Stuart, some areas pushing out towards Indiantown, you have a higher Hispanic population, and you have families that are living maybe 3 or 4 families to one home. So maybe they're not homeless, but there's maybe 3 bedrooms, but 6 students or 6 children and 3 families living in that 3-bedroom house. Those are not ideal conditions for any student or family to be in. But it is increasing in the district and in this county. And so that's where you see shifts in our graduation rate. You see shifts in our rankings going from the top 3 down to 27, back up to number 9, because we're having to adjust on how we're meeting the needs of those students that don't speak English. We have hundreds of students in the Port Salerno, Pinewood, Warfield area that speak conjugal. It's a different dialect. And it's very difficult for even someone who speaks Spanish to understand the conjugal dialect. And so when there's language barriers there, and there's homelessness, and there's financial crisis in the family, it impacts the student's ability to really learn. And it's not that those families and those parents don't care about their students. They love their kids. Mm-hmm. They just don't know how to help their students at home, because maybe their education level as a family, as a parent, was only through 5th grade. Or maybe they only received a 6th or 7th grade education themselves. So to support their child at home with reading and writing and math, and to tutor them, becomes more difficult than a normal traditional family that is able to provide that support. So the school district and the community at large has to step in and do things differently to try to support those families.
So do you, yeah, I would imagine. So how does a teacher communicate with a parent that doesn't speak English or speaks a dialect, like you said,
Yes.
where even the traditional Spanish can't handle the dialect?
Correct.
Do you have to make special arrangements for that? Do you hire special people to deal with them?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a combination of all the above, right? So we use technology with Google Translate, where we might have to speak into an iPad or some type of device that then translates, and then they listen and they do the same, and then we listen. We were successful in being able to hire a couple of our former students who spoke those different dialects and have graduated through our system, and really are the ones that were communicating and translating between the teacher and their own mom and dad. They have come back and have since become translators for the district, or have become paraprofessionals, or what we call parent liaisons. So when we have parent-teacher conferences, those staff members will sit in the parent-teacher conference and work as a translator between the two. So it's a combination of all of those things that you mentioned.
So many people don't even give that any thought. They just take for granted. Again, you mentioned earlier that it's so important to have the parent support.
Yes.
And so that's really, and I know the parents love their kids, and they
for
want them
sure.
to be educated.
Yes.
And for the most part, from what I see, I mean, I'm a layman, I'm not in the school system, but these kids are eager to learn too.
They are.
And I see them so many times in stores, for in Publix or Walmart or somewhere like that, where the child is speaking for the parent with the cashier or
Yes.
whatever, that they bring the child to communicate. So, yeah, it's really a difficult situation that most people don't even think about.
Correct. And I think one of the other things that's important for the listeners is the state assessments that we give our students that are now required kindergarten through 12th grade are all given in English. They're not able to be given in Spanish. All of those tests are given in English. And so for a non-English speaker to enter into the country or to move into the area not speaking English, to have to then sit and take a state standardized assessment test makes it very difficult for that student. It's intimidating. They don't understand. It adds additional pressure to the teachers and adds additional pressure to the school district for those students to be able to perform. It's not that they don't understand what to do. They're very smart. It's that there's a language barrier to reading the English passages and then having to answer the comprehension questions because they're in English and their first language may be Spanish, French, Creole. We have other languages besides just Spanish. And those test results do impact our overall school and district grades. And that's changed quite a bit as well.
Does trafficking affect the school system in any way? Is there an underlying issue there?
There are pockets where we have to get DCF involved because students may report something to a guidance counselor and we're having to report to DCF and investigations are done. I don't think trafficking, thankfully, has reached our area to the extent that it is in Broward, Palm Beach, further south in Florida.
Yeah, it's
But
epidemic.
it really is, and thankfully, and we have a wonderful sheriff's office. We have an excellent partnership with the sheriff's
Yeah.
office.
I know
They do an
Lynn
incredible
Barletta
job.
is very involved in that. She's
Yes,
a dear friend.
yes,
I've had her
yes.
on podcasts. too,
And
so.
we have, as a matter of fact, one of the detectives from the sheriff's office did a phenomenal presentation to parents at Hidden Oaks Middle School on signs to be aware of, different apps that they need to check their students' phones for that could easily be a trap for trafficking or for adults to try to lure underage students into their really crazy world to do bad things. And so we're just trying to keep our parents abreast of all the different technology that these
Oh my God,
pedophiles and these predators
oh
are
my God,
using.
It's out of control.
Yeah.
Those apps and things like that.
Yes.
We're winding down.
Yes.
Did we miss anything that you'd like to talk about, or that you'd like?
You know, I want your listeners to know that I'm a very open and transparent superintendent. You know, we're not always going to get things right. We're not perfect. But if they have questions, if they need answers to something, if they've been reaching out to the school or district staff and are not getting the level of service that we would expect or that I would expect, to just contact my office, contact the school district. They can go on our school website, www.martinschools.org. I believe you'll have it on the screen. And it gives them the ability to submit their questions through our Let's Talk platform. And that Let's Talk platform is monitored by a live person all throughout the day and into the evening. And staff will get back to them to get their questions answered.
Great.
So
Great.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
taking
having me
time
on.
out of your busy
Absolutely.
schedule to come up here.
For sure.
Good.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
You
Thank
too.
you.